was looking at the laser sails, interstellar transport mechanism, the thought exercise of how that might work for a more advanced society than our own.
So one of the things I thought was really cool was they had a system that apparently they're just deploying. I think you said it was a proof of concept that they just produced a few of, which was looking for radio flashes that were in the night sky and stuff like that. And that was all crowdsourced and open source hardware. And it seemed to be basically basic cameras that were just fisheye lenses pointed up with 3D, and he said there were just 3D printed shells around it. I'm like, okay, that's cool considering I have 3D printers at home.
Yeah, and it's the size of a suitcase. So that's something that's fun with the internet too, is because literally I am someone now where just about anything that I'm thinking about buying, my first thought goes to, can I 3D print it?
Can I print it?
And I go to the printer and print it.
And it'll conveniently cost me $3 in filament.
I have all the filament, you know?
Right. Oh, you've seen my garage. I've got racks of filament up on the wall at this point.
So much filament. Yeah, so just like, before I hit Amazon these days, can I print it?
Yeah. I wanted to return to the cameras because I've been looking at a project called All Sky Camera. And so it's an open source software application that does exactly what we're talking about. You get a good quality camera with a fisheye lens that's in a weatherproof container. You attach usually a Raspberry Pi to it or some other computer, and you mount it somewhere where it's got a clear view of the sky. Yeah. And when it's often used for tracking meteors, finding the origins of meteors, and then by the time a community of people are running these things, multiple sites see the same meteor and can track where it was, what velocity it was actually moving at, where it came from, those kinds of things.
Some leave out triangulation and all that good stuff.
Yeah, all that citizen science stuff. And again, it's enabled by open source access to software, open access to some pretty advanced technology. If you go back 20 years, the idea of being able to run real-time high-def video cameras and capture the entire sky and share it across the internet, it's still enabling great stuff.
That was that was not a thing that could happen 20 years ago, much less further back,
I wanted to circle back to the Internet Archive as well, because just partly the Internet Archive is a pretty inspiring organization whose objective is to protect a huge amount of what is otherwise volatile data. They just celebrated having 1 trillion web pages stored. And they have a variety of other different types of content. I think one of the things to recognize is that this is a largely entirely privately funded entity in order to protect community it's funded by community and to protect the data for the community. I think that's an absolutely spectacular project.
Yeah, and one of the things she showed in her presentation, was the fact that they give a relatively small amount of money is their average donation size. Now I think it was like 16.5 or something was their average donation size. So they're not getting their funding from the billionaire classes. They're not getting their funding from government orgs, at least not very much. And that's good because that means they're not beholden to what those organizations or what those governments want. So they have the ability to kind of tell the governments, hey, we're just not going to do what you want. If you've got legal paperwork, that's a separate thing. But that also only impacts what's stored in your jurisdiction. And one of the things she said was they've got server farms in the U.S., in Canada, in Europe. I'm assuming they've got some in Asia and Africa as well somewhere. So they've got stuff everywhere. And so even if they delete something, if say the current administration says, hey, go delete X because, of whatever crazy reason we want, then, all right, fine. Give us the legal paperwork to do it. And we'll delete it off our servers here in the U.S., but we've still got copies of that everywhere else. You have no impact on those servers. Those aren't stored in America. You've got no jurisdiction over them. And the same applies to obviously every other jurisdiction and administration as well.
And I'm still concerned about legal impact when you publish a content here. Because my point of view, this organization, could spend a lot of effort to building the platform to, store everything, but probably they must spend a lot of effort also to cover for legals, for everything.
I'm sure their legal bills are very large.
Yeah, that's true. Because it depends on regulation where you put the data and so it's.
Yeah, and then my mind's going blank. But I know they said like one, if not more, their data centers are green. So they also put a lot of money into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think so the data centers they just opened in Canada are 100% neutral or almost
Right.
100% neutral. Yeah,
Right. So I think
that's
that
pretty
was
impressive.
like
Yeah.
it would be impressive to have them maybe like come to Tech Full Day and we take a peek behind the curtain. That would be cool.
Or yeah, Joy would love us to see more inside, and maybe at an event where we're actually up in San Francisco rather than down here in the South Bay, we'll get an opportunity to see inside, see all of the things that are inside. The other aspect that I really liked was the focus on accessibility. It's very easy for us that are fully able to assume that everybody else is able to consume content in the same ways that we are, but focus on being able to have written word read and text that can be set at a size that is easier to consume, and also natural language as well. Native language becomes vital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some content in Italian too. Anyway, I was checking the last day. Oh, anyway, it's impressive how they probably they spend a lot of effort to make this platform accessible for people, for everyone else can, for example, for reading, people that can't reading a book. There is also another version. So it's something that sometimes, private companies or the industry take more time to readapt their platform for the regulations that are binding on the accessibility of the website and stuff like that. They are built natively, this, because it's probably the primary mission.
Yeah, and I think it is something that's important because what's going through my head right now is, one thing she also called out that I actually kind of forgot about too is the fact that they're taking physical books and digitizing those and storing those, because we're definitely in a place where we have like whole civilizations where they're lost. Languages are lost. And so we do need to start storing those things like that because things are definitely getting lost.
Yeah, because I remember she said that one of the really popular streams was literally the person scanning the book.
Yes.
And Internet Archive, if you're watching this, the next time you do that, I have written 7 books. Feel free to pick one of mine.